Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fresh Take from What Fresh Hell Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy, and today we're talking to our friend Laura Vanderkam. She is the author of several time management books, including the brand new Tranquility by Tuesday, 9 Ways to Calm the Chaos and Make Time for What Matters. Laura hosts the every weekday morning podcast Before Breakfast, and she also co-hosts the podcast Best of Both Worlds with Sarah Hart Unger. Laura lives outside Philadelphia with her husband and 5 children. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. We have had you on before with your podcast co-host, but I think we said at the time, way before, we now know Laura in real life, but way before we ever met you, Amy has been a Laura Vanderkam devotee. I mean, I remember her talking about your books. I mean, you really light up Amy's, what do you call them? Neurons?
The centers of my brain, my productivity centers.
The productivity centers. She's into the productivity, yes.
I met Laura because our first books came out at the same time in 2010. This is what, your 7th book, Laura? How many books have you written?
Something like that. I think so. Yeah.
I'm working on my 2nd book. It's going to come out just 13 years after my first one.
That's why Laura's the productivity expert and you're not, Amy.
So I tip my hat to Laura. That's right.
So we know you as a time management expert, productivity writer. And so what made you in this book want to turn your focus to this idea of tranquility?
Yeah, well, I mean, I work with a lot of people who are productive, ambitious, the people who get stuff done, like Amy does. But many people, kind of feel like life is just this constant to-do list, right? Each day is absorbed with the preparation for the next day. You get through the things you have to do, and then you do it all over again. And there's this sense sometimes that life is not as fun as it should be, that we are not necessarily appreciating the good moments that do happen. And so I wanted to focus a little bit more on how we could make life feel sustainable and joyful, even in the midst of all the chaos that comes from having a busy life, from having a lot of responsibilities, whether that be at work, at home, or both. And, how people in those busy years can make time for fun, can have the energy to handle their responsibilities, and have things in life that they are genuinely looking forward to.
And just so we know that we're talking to a true expert, tell us a little bit about how many kids you have, what projects you're working on, and you can mention a pet as well.
A pet as well, yeah. Well, fortunately, the pet is not usually my responsibility. My husband is the one who really wanted the dog, so the dog is kind of his baby. We have 5 other babies. We have 5 children that range in human babies that range in age from 15 to 2. So we kind of got all stages simultaneously, that we're doing both potty training and driver's training simultaneously. So that's quite an experience.
Thoughts and prayers. Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers.
Bless your heart, as they say in the South.
Yeah. And so then, professionally, I write and speak about time management, do a lot of speaking for various places, write my books, have the 2 podcasts. So yeah, that's what occupies my time.
Also, home renovation project. Let's throw that in as well.
Well, that is mostly done. We still have some stuff going on. Yeah, my husband and I, during the pandemic, we did so many cliched things. I mean, we got a dog. We bought and renovated a historic house. mostly because we had outgrown the old one when the fifth baby was born right before the pandemic started. And then we were all on top of each other for a long time. But we, felt we needed to get him out of sleeping in the closet eventually. So we purchased a house. And in order to get enough space for all of us in this area, you kind of had to go with the old homes. Like nobody builds homes for families of 7 anymore. So, we either custom build with all that involved, or bought an old place, renovated it, took about a year, moved in at the beginning of January of 2022. And, there's still some boxes in the hallway. I will give you that. My time management does not extend to getting all of that done immediately, but I have high hopes that by the time 2023 rolls around, the boxes at least won't be visible anymore. So that's the goal.
It seems like the idea of tranquility, I've been thinking about this a lot, that does being more productive make you more happy? I think like Gretchen Rubin would argue, yes, it does. I kind of think it does for me. But being tranquil, some other people might say, okay, if you want to be tranquil, then don't worry about renovating a house. Don't, have 1 kid instead of 5, right? 1 book instead of 10, right? And nap more. That's how to be more tranquil. But it seems like you're getting at you can have both, right? This is another approach.
Yeah, this is another approach, which is that I think life is more fun when we have a lot of things that we enjoy. And I recognize that people are different. And there are some folks who really appreciate having a lot of open space. But if there are things beyond the, just one thing or another that you wish to do, I do think it is possible that these things don't have to be at odds. One of my core messages of my time management work is that if you do want to raise a big family, if you do want to have a career, if you do want to make time for your own projects and hobbies, all these things can fit in the 168 hours we have each week. They can fit, and some open space can fit too. But in order for that to happen, we need to be mindful of our choices. And to me, productivity is about making sure that our precious time is devoted to the things that matter to us, and that we don't spend a lot of time on the things that don't matter to us. And so by that definition, I think productivity is entirely tied up in happiness, because you want to spend time on the things that are joy inducing in your life. And, spending a lot of time on things that are not would not meet the definition of productivity at all. I think there's something of a misnomer that it is, only doing work, right? Or it is only doing chores. Chores and work, that's fine. We probably have to do some of them, but that's not all we have to do in life.
When you've talked to so many people for your research for this book and other books, what would you say you see are the common themes for things that are keeping people from having time to be tranquil or time to pursue the things that really matter to them?
I think it really is the fact that time keeps passing no matter what you do with it.
It seems obvious, but also very profound. Oh, right.
And because of that fact, which is what makes it so easy to spend time mindlessly and to not have a good sense of where our time is going. I mean, it's as if all your money was just burned at the end of every day. I'm not sure how many people would be very good at budgeting if that were the case. We make more mindful choices with certain things than we do with others. And, and I always say, you start a week in 168 hours, it will have been filled with something, whether you make active choices or not. It's going to be filled with something. The question is just what? And I think that by making mindful choices about what we fill the 168 hours of a week with, we can get ourselves, much closer to the life we want. So it's not that there is one specific thing everyone spends too much time on email, or we're all streaming too many shows we don't care about. There's all sorts of things that people manage to waste time doing. But ultimately, the biggest waste is not by asking what you want to do with your time, and to be this sort of more passive recipient of what life throws at you, as opposed to actively planning in what would be meaningful for yourself and the people you care about.
And does research show, this also seems obvious, but I want to ask the question, does research show that people who are more intentional about filling their lives with what they want, do they report getting done more of what they want than people who sort of just play it as it lays?
I'm not sure exactly how we would study that question. What I do know is from Tranquility by Tuesday, I did do a research project, which is that I had 150 people follow these 9 rules that are about actively planning in what you want to do in your life and making space for the things that matter to you and planning in time and making some other sort of wise time choices. And I found over the course of the 9 weeks that people's time satisfaction scores, as I measured them from time to time, rose to a high degree of statistical significance. I mean, people felt quite better about their time at the end of the project than they did at the beginning. They felt they were making more progress on their professional goals. They felt they were making more progress on their personal goals. They felt they were wasting less time on things that didn't matter to them. So those were all sort of key findings that came out of the project.
We are talking to Laura Vanderkam, the author of Tranquility by Tuesday, 9 ways to calm the chaos and make time for what matters. And we are going to start drilling down on these rules when we get back from this break.
Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH. All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or dsw.com today and let us surprise you.
Okay, so in your book, Tranquility by Tuesday, you talk about 9 rules. And you had people try these 9 rules for how long? I can't remember.
Well, each week they would learn a new rule. So over the course of 9 weeks, you learn a rule, you answer questions about how you plan to implement it in your life. A week later, I check back in, ask you questions about how it went. And so people would answer these questions. And then as this was going on, I was measuring them on various dimensions. How much do you agree or disagree with statements like, yesterday I had enough energy to handle my responsibilities, or yesterday I made progress on my professional goals, or yesterday I had time just for me, and so on. Like, that was how we did it.
All right, let's start with the first rule. First rule is give yourself a bedtime. Walk us through it.
So this is a foundational rule. It is very hard to make good choices, to have enough energy to handle your responsibilities if you are feeling sleep deprived. I mean, that is a very true statement, as everyone knows. You haven't slept well. Everything feels harder. Everything seems to take twice as long. You're less happy about all of it, even if you have good things on your schedule. So we want to make sure that we're getting enough sleep. But what I've discovered over the years is that when people keep track of their time and keep track of their time for a week or so, most people are, in fact, getting enough sleep from a quantitative perspective, which is always surprising because, people are like, oh, I'm not sleeping enough. I'm sleep deprived. People think they sleep very little amounts on a typical night. But what's happening is that people are often either undershooting or overshooting the amount of sleep they need. So the beginning of the week, people have slept in on Sunday morning, so they can't fall asleep Sunday night. Monday morning, they have to be up bright and early. So they start the week with a sleep deficit. Maybe Tuesday night also has a sleep deficit, but then your body starts to force you to catch up. So people crash on the couch while watching TV. They fall asleep while putting their kids to sleep. They sleep through their alarms. They hit snooze 4 times, and so on it goes. And then weekends, they also spend catching up and paying off this sleep debt. And what this means is that some days you're exhausted and some days you can't maintain whatever good routines you have because your body has forced you to substitute sleep for other activities. So it's so much better to get the same amount of sleep every night. Whatever amount it is you need, you get that every night. And since most adults can't really change the time they wake up in the morning because there's certain times you have to be up to, go to work or to handle your family responsibilities, the only variable that can change is the time you go to bed the night before. And so I suggest people give themselves a target bedtime that is the amount of sleep you need before the time you need to wake up. So for me, I have to be up at 6:30 in the morning on weekdays. So since I need about 7.5 hours of sleep, my bedtime is 11 p.m. And so I always am checking in with myself sometime between 10 and 11 p.m. Does it look like I'm going to get in bed by my bedtime? Now, again, I'm adult. I don't have to stay, I don't have to follow my bedtime. It's not like, you're 5 years old and somebody's going to force you to be in bed with the lights out and start to.
You don't assign your spouse to be like, I'm reading you a story and then no more glasses of water for you.
It sounds nice, if somebody read me a story at night, but no, that does not in fact happen. But the idea is that it forces you to make an active choice. Like if you have a really good reason to stay up later, go for it. But if you don't, you may as well get in bed and have a target time for that to happen every night.
It's not just happening because something's happening and you're going to scroll Twitter for an extra 2 hours that night to keep up with it. I want to focus, before we move on the idea of tracking your time. That might not be a concept that's familiar to people. What do you mean by tracking your time?
So keeping track of where your time truly goes is one of the best ways to make sure that you are spending your time on things that you want to spend time on, right? Like if people will say to me, well, I want to spend my time better. And what's the first thing I should do? I was like, well, figure out where it's going now, because if you don't know where it's going now, how do you know if you're changing the right thing? It could be that something you've never thought of is taking more time than you realize, or it could be that things you thought were taking a ton of time just really aren't. I mean, you don't know, and you can't make wise choices unless you have good data. And the only way to get that data is to actually keep track of your time.
Which means you write down what you're doing by how long an increment.
Yeah, I do this on a spreadsheet that has the days of the week across the top, Monday to Sunday, half-hour blocks down the left-hand side, 5 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. I check in about 3 times a day. It only takes me about a minute each time. So we're talking 3 minutes a day, which turns out to be the same amount of time I spend brushing my teeth. So it's really not that onerous. If anyone can brush their teeth, you can also do this. And, just check in, write what I've done since the last time. Broad strokes, if I'm working, I'll just say work, right? Sleep, get ready, kids. There's a lot of random kids time, which I'm chasing somebody around, dealing with somebody's needs, right? I don't need to try to dial in on it. This is when I got the glass of orange juice and then I changed the diaper and then I did this, right? It's not like that. But when you do this, you can see where your time goes. And, you can see what space is available in 168 hours in a week. What time is devoted to things you enjoy? What time is not? And you can start asking what you can do about it.
And you're still doing this. I mean, all these years later, you're still learning from doing this?
I am still doing this.
I was just with Laura in person and I was watching her log her time. And I said, oh, you still really do that? She's like, yeah, it doesn't take very long. And I got it.
No, it's, so this is going to make me sound like a bit of a time freak, but yes, I have been doing it since April of 2015. So we're at over 7 years now, but it's actually, I don't measure things much anymore. I mean, I know roughly how many hours I work. I know roughly how many hours I sleep. I'm pretty good creature of habit for a lot of that stuff right now. It functions more as a diary. Like it's a journal that has recorded what has happened in my life. And so I can look back on any given week from say, September of 2017 and see like what happened that week. And when I see it all laid out, it actually conjures up memories in a far more detailed fashion because it's like, you don't just see, oh, we went apple picking. It's like, okay. And right before that, we went to this restaurant. Like, oh yeah, I remember that now. And the whole thing comes back. It makes it, memories accessible in a way that I just don't think they are in any other way. Now, if you're, interested in making really cool pie charts and want to get the exact numbers, you probably are going to be better off with a time tracking app or just using certain keywords that Excel can then total up for you and also create the really cool pie charts. I kind of got over the pie charts after year one of doing this. Year one was the pie charts. Then I moved on.
I like pie charts.
And there's also an option to just do this for 9 weeks and use it as an analytical tool for, if it sounds intimidating, like, oh my God, my new life is going to be 7 years of writing down everything I do to people. There is a sort of analytical version of this where you just do it to sort of figure out, okay, what's my starting line?
Yeah, you can do it for 1 week. That's plenty. I mean, that's what I suggest people do. I run a challenge most Januaries where I have thousands of people follow along and we track our time together for a week in January. So if people, want to look into doing that, you can. You can obviously do it on your own. Start whenever you want. Just keep going for a week. If you can't do a week, that's fine. I think you can actually get a lot of data from, say, 2 weekdays and 1 weekend, right? If you look at how you are spending your time over those 3 days. And here's an even little better trick to get started. Most of us actually have pretty good time recall of the previous 24 hours. Past that is entirely gone. It's one of those weird things of the human brain, but you can remember about 24 hours. So you can start, this morning, write down what you did yesterday, right? And then you can do today. And wow, you already have 2 days of data. So that's a very easy way to make this start.
Can we talk a little bit about the second rule, which is sort of the opposite of this, which is now that you have this time tracking and you understand how your life usually goes, to plan for what happens next?
Yeah, to plan on Friday. So rule number 2 is to plan on Friday, which is really 2 things. One is just to plan. Like, let's get that first. Friday is a separate thing, although I can explain why I think Friday is a great time to do this. I think everybody needs a designated weekly planning time. Weekly, because we live our lives in weeks. Weeks are the unit of repeat in our life as a pattern, as a mathematician might refer to it. If people say, well, I'm going to look at a typical day. What's a typical day? Is it Tuesday? Is it Saturday? I mean, they both occur just as often and have the same number of hours. So you need a unit of time that encompasses both Tuesday and Saturday. And a week will give you that. So a week is also, a short enough time that you can pretty much see what's going to happen. Like there's not huge surprises coming in the next week, most likely, that you don't know. Some, you can deal with that. But, mostly we know what the next week will look like. But it's enough that it gives you enough space to put in things that don't have to happen daily in order to be important in your life. So choose a time every week, recurring time, to look at the next week and ask yourself, what would you like to have happen in your life? What is important to you? I suggest people plan in 3 categories: career, relationships, self. So what are the most important things for your career, however, whatever that looks like for you, or, volunteering, if you're doing that, that can work as well. Relationships, so family, friends, what's important there. And then self, obviously, what do you want to do for your own social, emotional, spiritual, physical health, right? Anything in those categories that you want to do. So figure out what's important to have happen over the next week. Figure out where those things can go. Look at what you need to do in all these categories, things that are already on your calendar or need to get on there. Look to see if there are any problems in the upcoming week that you can solve by looking at it ahead of time, things that are happening at the same time, things that can't both happen at the same time, things that are going to require a lot of preparation and there's not a whole lot of time immediately before them to get the preparation done. Anything you want to solve like that, make sure you have something you are genuinely looking forward to over the next week, and then go from there. But I find that by spending even just, 20 minutes looking at the upcoming week, you can feel so much more calm about life, that this is how we calm the chaos and make time for what matters. The reason for Friday is because, for starters, most people aren't doing much of consequence, at least by Friday afternoon. People are sort of sliding into the weekend.
Right. Nobody else is, right?
You've quit your job after noon on Friday. So
you're done.
It's hard to start anything new, but you might be willing to think about what future you should do. And so if you're just kind of biding the hours until it's acceptable to sign off, like repurpose it for, very productive planning. It's during business hours though, which is helpful if you need to set an appointment, get a meeting on the calendar with someone, or anything else that has to be done during business hours. Like if you send an email to someone about meeting next week, you're more likely to get a response on Friday than you are Sunday night, which is another time a lot of people plan. But I think the biggest reason is that even people who really like their jobs and their lives can get this trepidation on Sunday night if they don't know what exactly is waiting for them on Monday morning. Like they know there's all this stuff, all these problems that have to be solved, but they don't know exactly how they're going to deal with it. And so if you don't have a plan, your brain keeps cycling through it, thinking about the possibilities. Whereas if you end Friday knowing what you are going to do on Monday, you can relax more over the weekend because there is a plan in place. And so I think it helps people enjoy their weekends far more.
That makes good sense, as my grandma would say.
We're talking to Laura Vanderkam, author of Tranquility by Tuesday, and we'll be right back.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. And it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com.
Laura, I wanted to talk about, let's skip around a little bit because this rule sounds like it's for me. I want to hear about this.
An Amy rule.
Creating a backup slot. Tell us about what that is like.
Yeah. So one of the things I've come to see in life is that anyone can create a perfect schedule. It is the true time management masters who create a resilient schedule that allows them to keep moving forward on their goals, even when life doesn't go as planned. Because it's sort of amazing how many people, are going through life and then they're like, wait, something happened. Something came up, something unexpected. And they can be little things, it can be big things, but they throw people off track. I mean, just as a, sort of professional example, I see a lot, people want to meet with their direct reports to give like celebratory feedback, things that are going right. But of course, that is never urgent. Like you can do that at any point. So you set a time, let's say Tuesday at 10 a.m. to give your direct report the celebratory feedback. And then, there's a huge emergency at 9:30 a.m. and your biggest client has some, disaster happening. You all need to deal with it. And of course, the meeting with your direct report gets bumped because it isn't urgent. But then it's like, well, it feels like it never happens. These things that we deem important never happen because life comes up. So if something is truly important to you, you need the equivalent of a rain date. So if you go to like outdoor party in summer, oftentimes they will have a rain date that, okay, we're going to have this picnic on Saturday afternoon. But if it is pouring on Saturday afternoon, the rain date is Sunday afternoon. And by setting a rain date, which is a time when you know it will be rescheduled and you know when, you vastly increase the chances of the original event happening, even if not at the time that you originally planned. So if something is important to you, you need to create a backup slot for it, the equivalent of a rain date. So you might meet with that employee on Friday if it isn't on Tuesday. And both of you know when you set the time for Tuesday that Friday is the backup slot and you know when. So no, you're not saying, well, is it going to be rescheduled and when? It will be. I did this once with, that direct report known as one of my kids, that I try to do these mommy days every summer, where I take my big kids at least somewhere that they can spend some one-on-one time with me for a day. And, they often choose stuff like amusement parks. But the problem with amusement parks is, again, it might rain. We plan to go to Hershey Park one day where there wound up being like a tornado warning for the area. So we couldn't go, right? But had to create a backup slot. Say, well, if this Saturday doesn't happen, I can see that you are not in camp this week and Thursday is a pretty light day for me. I'm not going to put anything on Thursday that can't be canceled. And so if Saturday doesn't happen, if the weather doesn't cooperate on Saturday, we both know that Thursday is when it is getting rescheduled to. And it just allows people to know that these things that are important are still going to happen. So that's what I mean by creating a backup slot. If it's unwieldy to do this for everything, like just create more open space in general. One thing I try to do, I leave Fridays as open as possible. So that way, if something comes up during the week, it's got a spot to go, or if something gets bumped during the week, I can reschedule that thing for Friday.
This ties into another rule that I was just talking about with my husband, because this is my problem. I have the to-do list that has the last 6 things on it. And every day I do the first 6 things, and then those bottom 6 things move to the next day's to-do list. And they're just they're usually the things I least want to do, or I have to call a doctor and talk to a human and figure out an appointment. It's just it's kind of the mammogram ends up down there. And it's it's never the most important thing of my day.
Because those to-do things that are not urgent, we're good to set one designated time for them. We batch the little things is rule number 8. So I would suggest people
That's right.
take 90 minutes on Friday for all those things. Instead of just having them on each day's to-do list, just go ahead and put them all at a time. Let's say, afternoon on Friday again, we're not doing anything else. Take 90 minutes and crank through them. And then you can end the, week feeling like you've done all this stuff and it's all crossed off and you are complete. But the effortful before effortless rule is more about fun things. So there's certain sorts of fun that require a little bit more effort than fun that does not require effort. So scrolling around on Twitter does not require any effort. Streaming various television shows doesn't usually require a whole lot of effort unless it's a really intense documentary you got to follow exactly. But most screen time is pretty passive, right? That's why we do it. Whereas fun such as reading, talking with friends, doing hobbies, doing crafts, all those sorts of things are more active. They require a little bit of effort. And because they require effort, people tend to do a lot less of them than the leisure that requires 0 effort. And the problem with that is that most people, if they are asked what they would like to spend more time doing, the effortful fun, like reading and hobbies and friends, is what rises to the top of the list. Most people don't say, I wish I had more time to be on Twitter. This is not something people tend to say.
I wish I had more time to watch Love Island, which I don't even follow. Yeah, exactly.
I wish that I could, get caught up on Selling Sunset. If only I had the time. So, and these things tend to make us happier. People prefer reading to television. If you ask them in the middle of doing it, how happy they are, they're going to be more happier reading or doing hobbies or hanging out with friends or talking with friends, at least, than they are with the other things. So in order to make more space for the effortful fun, we just need to try to flip the automatic order where we always do the effortless fun first. So I challenge people to, if you're picking up your phone, instead of going to one of the social media apps first or reading headlines, start reading an ebook for just 2 to 3 minutes. That's it. You don't have to do it forever, but just go to that first, read a little bit, and then you can go for Twitter, as long as you want on Twitter. Or at night, you've gotten the kids to bed. Instead of just automatically turning on the TV, go do a puzzle for 15 minutes And then you can go turn on the TV and stream for the rest of the night. And one of two things happens. I mean, one is often the effortful fun is so pleasant that you just keep going with it because it turns out that your book is better than Twitter. And so you're going to keep reading the book, and you feel satisfaction of doing the puzzle. You get into it, you keep going. But even if that doesn't happen, you've made more space in your life for the kinds of fun that people do tend to enjoy more. And so you don't feel like you're spending all your time on the effortless fun. You can, read a chapter in War and Peace and then go watch Selling Sunset. Be the kind of person who does both.
So this idea of tranquility, I'm just coming back to this. It's so interesting to me to explore that tranquility doesn't have to mean sort of passive acceptance of what life brings you and being at peace instead of trying to make things work, that in fact, intentionality can lead to more tranquility.
Yeah. So I think tranquility, it's best to think about the synonym of serenity, right? Which I couldn't do that because Saturday and Sunday are the 2 days of the week. So I guess the alliteration would be off because sure, I feel serene on Saturday anyway. We all
We're
do.
already
It's
doing
like
it.
saying fun on Friday. Well, this is not a book. That's just like, we're going to do that. We're already doing it. So the reason for tranquility and serenity and words like that, I had this image of them being like you're off in a mountaintop retreat and nothing is going on. And that's one form of it. But when you think of other forms of it, something like the famous serenity prayer that recovering alcoholics pray, right? That, grant me acceptance and so on. And that, courage to change the things I can. They're praying for serenity, usually in a life where things are not going great, right? Like it's not like all is calm and wonderful. There's often a lot of chaos and things that are, crazy going on around, which is what has led to all this situation anyway. And I think that's more the thing, that we can be serene. We can work to achieve a level of, joy and sustainability and acceptance, even if life is, complicated. Even if life is occasionally chaotic, even if there are a ton of moving parts. Maybe the best image for this I love the idea of a circus. And the metaphor of a circus is one I use a lot. When people say life is a circus, they mean it's crazed. But that's wrong. Like, there are a lot of moving parts in a circus, but everything is orderly. Everything is orderly. Everything is going on exactly how it's supposed to be. People get exactly where they're supposed to be at the time they're supposed to be there in the right order. No one gets shot out of a cannon at the wrong time. If you ever look at the person being shot out of a cannon, they look very serene. So that's sort of how we can think of this. We are tranquil.
And the result of a circus is to have fun, like to enjoy it. It's to be enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's have fun. It's enjoyable. Yeah. Even amidst this crazy stuff, there are systems for making it all work. For if stuff goes wrong, there are systems to figure it out. It's all good.
This quote from the book really summed it up for me. The project of constructing a good life can be complicated. Making a more intentional effort in how people spend their time has made a big difference. And it's like, we're not saying it's going to be easy, but if you become the captain rather than just being on the raging river, your outcomes are going to be better.
Oh, yeah. And you're going to feel better about life in general because, yes, the river is rough, but you are directing the ship. You have a good sense of what's coming up. You're prepared for it. You are enjoying the moments where you can enjoy the moments. It's still possible to have fun while doing this.
We've been talking to Laura Vanderkam. Her new book is Tranquility by Tuesday, 9 Ways to Calm the Chaos and Make Time for What Matters. Laura, tell our listeners all the different places they can find you and your work.
Yeah, so you can come visit my website, which is lauravanderkam.com. It's just my name. You can find out information there about my books, including Tranquility by Tuesday, and about my different podcasts and everything else that's going on. I blog 3 to 4 times a week. I really enjoy doing that. So you can get updates on various time management things, what's going on in my life. And I really enjoy interacting with people there.
I still don't know how you do it, Laura. I'm still not sure, but I'm a little more sure after this interview.
Oh, well, we just make it work.
We will put links to everywhere you can find Laura and her book on our show page. And Laura, thanks so much for joining us today. It's great talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Laura.
Stitch Fix. Shopping is hard. Let's talk about it.
I don't have time to shop for clothes.
I have to buy everything in 3 sizes to find one that fits. They know me at the post office.
Workout wear is my only wear.
Stitch Fix makes shopping easy. Just show your size, style, and budget, and your stylist sends personalized looks right to your door. No subscription required, plus free shipping and returns.
Oh, wow. That was easy.
Stitch Fix, online personal styling for everyone. Take your style quiz today at stitchfix.com.